Please note, this following podcast features bad language, right from the fucking start. And now, dissecting the week's most shared news stories and separating the truth from the nonsense. It's the Ministry of Swooping.
Hello and welcome to the Ministry of Swooping, a brand new podcast that does what you can't be bothered to do, look into the memes and stories doing the rounds on social media and working out if there's any truth to them. And yes, I know it is an unusual name, but then so is Argelico Fox. For those who don't know, Argelico Fox is a former Brazilian footballer whose transfer in 2001 led to the infamous Eurosport headline, Fox off to Benfica. Anyway, why are we doing this? Well, online it's getting increasingly harder to tell the truth from the fiction. Like Adolf Hitler once said, the problem with things quoted on the internet is they're often not true. We're here to step up and help do the background research that a normal sane person wouldn't be bothered to do, and we'll tell you if you can trust the Facebook post from that moron you used to go to school with. We'll tell you whether to believe your idiot cousin's ramblings on Twitter, and we'll alert you if there's any of these post-truth politicians actually say something factually correct. And we're going to have a little fun along the way as well. So settle in for some bad/lazy investigative journalism and a whole heap of bullshit. I'm your host for today, the Secretary of State for Nonsense, Al Galpin, and joining me as my parliamentary undersecretaries on this week's show is an old colleague of mine and stands an impressive 7'3" tall. It's Nick Chappell. Hello, Nick.
Hello, how do you doing?
And he's an old school friend of mine who once fit an entire banana in his mouth sideways. It's Lloyd Collins. Hi, Lloyd.
How you doing? Hi.
How are you both? All right?
Yeah, doing well, mate. How about you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, very good. You threw me there with the, I forgot about it, Fox. That's such a great fucking football name.
It is a great name, isn't it? Actually, I saw it on something and I had to fact check that. I was like, I've got to check to see if that's true.
Wasn't there a Romanian player with something equally like his name was shit or something like that?
I think there might have been.
Go and Google that.
It's the German Kunz, yeah, from Euro '96, which is a brilliant one where he passes it, Motson just goes Kunz. And I think everyone watching it at the time went, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I think Fox off to Benfica is probably my favourite football headline.
Well, yeah. What can you say?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just trying to is it a better one? No, there's not. No, it's not.
No. Hopefully we'll get some more good headlines later when we get to the new stuff. Anyway, before that, has anyone had anything interesting happen to them this week?
I mean, depends how you define interesting. I got drunk at the weekend.
To me, that's quite interesting. I haven't been drunk in a long time.
And I turned my frog into a toilet, apparently. I said again, I'll turn my frog into a toilet. I said that quite quickly then, didn't I?
You did? I was like, what?
Yeah, have you not seen this like on the rounds on social media and Facebook? Like you get 2 toilet rolls,
right?
You pop it on top of your closed lid, and you get a used toilet roll, so the cardboard bit inside of it. Put it in like between the seat and the lid, and it makes a little tongue, and then you have a frog toilet.
Okay.
Someone somewhere had that idea. Someone sat there one day and went, do you know what would be really funny?
But I love shit like that. I love crazy little shit like that. It makes my day.
I can't beat that. I'm in the middle of a very long holiday, and I've spent the last 3 weeks at home at my parents'. I live in Bucharest, so I'm not some sad guy that hasn't moved out. So
You moved out a long way.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm at home at the moment, and my parents decided to get rid of the garage. And as they did, it fell apart, and so they're building a cabin, one of these sort of kit ones. And I love making stuff like that. So, you gonna come over? Yes. So I spent the last 2-3 weeks helping Dad make that, and then yesterday we made a shed.
Nice.
So that's the height of my interesting weekend, is doing that.
Pretty good, useful.
So
yeah, I mean,
a bit more useful than a toilet frog.
Yeah, well, like I say, yours sounds far more productive than getting drunk and making a toilet frog.
It is, but it's probably more sad. I don't know why.
Interesting weeks you've had. Nothing. I've been to work. Went to the Isle of Wight yesterday.
That is interesting.
Which was quite fun.
Whereabouts did you go?
Shanklin.
Ah, nice.
The mother-in-law and family were over there for a couple of weeks, and so we went over just for the day. Take Hunter over to see his nanny. Yeah, we played on the beach for a bit. We one thing that I did, and I have to mention this, they had those claw machines. You try and win things. I saw they had some of these at the arcades. Well, got some cash out, put a couple of quid in, trying to win. I think it was a sloth. Didn't win anything. Turned around to see John, Kitty's stepdad, had won a Peter Rabbit, and he'd given it to Hunter. So I tried another couple of times, nothing. Then they had another machine that was one of those huge claw things that had a Spider-Man in it that was like 3 or 4 foot tall. Came close to getting that, but didn't. And we moved on. And then I went somewhere else and tried on another couple of machines. Nothing. I think I got 10 quid out, and by this point I'd got 2 quid left. And then I thought, I have one final go. We're going to try on this Dumbo one. I'm going to try and get Dumbo. And I'm getting really close. Got him picked up several times. It just, as it wobbles around, it dropped out. And then from across the room, we heard a scream, "I've got Fat Tigger!" And it was Hunter's little auntie who had won this Fat Tigger. And she gave that to Hunter as well. So I'd spent about 10 quid on about 5 different machines, got nothing. John spent 2 quid and got a Peter Rabbit, and Maddie spent 20p and got a Tigger.
No, Fat Tigger.
Fat Tigger. So, yeah.
Which raises questions like, how did Tigger get fat?
Because he's stuck in that machine. He's got nowhere to bounce. He's not burning off the calories he normally would if he was out in the open.
Oh, there's some interesting thoughts there today. Thank you for that. That was interesting.
Now Alan's there going, "Oh, why did I invite you both on?"
Oh, this is good. This is what we want. Some chat. So, with our introductions over, shall we get on to some good stuff? We get on to some news. We've scoured social media for some news stories and memes that are going to be shared and taken at face value, and dug a little deeper into them to find the truth behind the headlines and the real maths behind any stats. So without any further ado, here's this week's fake news roundup. I'll go with story number 1. So the first one is, win a 7-night holiday to Las Vegas for sharing a Facebook post. Seen on Facebook, originally shared by the page Las Vegas Tours. It's not been seen anywhere else, but lots of shares on that Facebook page. At last check, it had 198,000 comments and 233,000 shares. The gist of it is that the post is made up from the Facebook page, and users are asked to comment and share on the post before a certain date to win a 7-night holiday in a Las Vegas hotel suite. What do we think, guys? True or not?
My instinct to this is it's like anything you see, like people share, like, "Oh, share this link and you can buy Ray-Bans cheap," stuff like that. It's all bullshit. It's like every time I see stuff like that, you see win a prize on Facebook. Nah.
I would agree. I think it's false, isn't it? For one thing, it's really vague. Who is Las Vegas Tours? Where have they come from? Who are they part of? What are they offering? It's just this. Here's a prize, and people have gone, "Yeah, I'll share that."
Yeah, and it's one of those things you see a lot. I see it a lot with centre parks. You see that one come up every couple of months almost. That one comes on. So yeah, I did a quick online search and found a post from another fact-checking website called that'snonsense.com, who described the post as another example of Facebook-like farming using fake competitions or giveaways as bait to lure the users into engaging with a post. They've got some good tips actually for spotting some such fake posts on Facebook. They say the post has been made by a page that's only a few weeks old, which on this version you can see through the page transparency feature. It shows that this particular one was only created on the 18th of July, 2 weeks prior to the competition was on. As such, the page has made very few posts. In fact, the only post of any kind of substance is the one offering the free holiday. The post is made from a page that is not verified, highlighting the fact that it is not an official page belonging to any legitimate tour group from Las Vegas. Additionally, the page lacks any kind of contact details. There's no phone number, no address or anything like that. And the post request users share it on the timeline, which is actually against Facebook's terms of service regarding promotions. In fact, the page admins can't even determine if an entrant has shared a post if that entrant has got their privacy settings to friends only. Oh yeah, share this and you might win, but we don't actually know if you shared it. Yeah. So the site actually goes on to say the above are all telltale signs that it's not a real competition. It's likely at some point the post will be edited to lure users into an external website to harvest contact information. Alternatively, those who have engaged with the post might be contacted by scammers through Facebook. So that's something to watch out for. So yeah, the belief is there that it is fake. Because, like you mentioned, who are these guys, where they've come from, what is... No official terms and conditions written on the post, and when you see competitions normally, the terms and conditions are longer than the actual post normally, if you see them in magazines and stuff. So you've got to watch out for that kind of stuff. If it's not there, it's bullshit. And yeah, it's like those Centre Parks ones. Oh, we've just had a cancellation, so we're going to give this one away. Or sometimes you see it like, oh, we've just had this batch of iPads that for some reason we can't sell.
Yeah,
so we're going to give them away. You see a lot of that type.
It's just nonsense.
So yeah, so that's first news story of the day is complete bullshit. False. So we'll move on to story number 2. Nick, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, go on then. Woman arrested for defecating on boss's desk after winning the lottery. So this is from a link from the Valley Report, and it's been seen on Twitter and Facebook. No one else is really covering this, and the story goes that a 41-year-old woman had a winning lottery ticket and won over $3 million on Friday night, but showed up to work anyway on Monday to deliver one last package. The courier company had no idea of her winnings. I knew there was something wrong because when I came back from lunch, the door to the office was closed, said the manager. I slowly opened the door to discover the woman with her pants around her ankles hunched over my desk like a hippopotamus/cheetah, dropping a massive poo on my desk. There are many thoughts with that story going through my head. When I first read that earlier, I was like, that is a way to go out if it is true. The thing that got me the most was the description part of it, where he refers to it as a...
the hippopotamus/cheetah.
Yeah, two very contrasting animals there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a hippo just poos and then it's actually moved its tail around to like a spray their poo around. It's all about like marking territory, whereas I'm pretty sure a cheetah, much like a normal cat, would just literally squat and poo.
It's two interesting animals to grab out of the air, isn't it?
Yeah. It could have been worse. It could have been like a giraffe or a gerbil.
Yeah. The thing is, as well, a hippo's primarily herbivore. It eats primarily vegetables.
Yep.
And the occasional person. Cheetahs are meat eaters, so surely what's being produced is going to be very, very different.
Yeah, and therefore how they expel it must be.
Yeah. My other thought was, I'm a teacher by profession, so I've learned over 15 years of teaching that when you leave your classroom, you lock it. What got me is this guy went to lunch, and the thing that made him think something's not right here was the door was closed. What kind of person leaves their office and doesn't shut the door and or lock it?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to think that in a professional workplace environment, he would be able to leave his door ajar and people would say, oh, he's not in, that's fine, I don't need to go take a poo on his table now.
Well, that's true, I suppose, but I mean, just you leave yourself open to all sorts of office shenanigans, aren't you? I mean, that's the thing.
Well, if he had shut the desk, would he have come back to an email from us saying, I tried to shit on your desk but the door was closed?
Or just left it
Here's
outside.
a photo of it by email instead.
And why wait till lunchtime? I think in the whole story, she goes on to say, oh, I had it all backed up over the weekend. I went to all these taco places and I was just shuffling around the office in the end. I'm like, you're going, just do it first thing.
Picked up some good points there I hadn't even considered when reading
I think the other thing as well, I mean, in the world of internet where clicks are king, this kind of headline taps into a lot of things. So a lot of people was like, I'd love to win the lottery, I'd love to shit on my boss's desk. This has got everything to it, isn't it? So you see that, you click on it, you're going to click on it.
You're going to click on it.
It's apocrypha.
Yeah.
So this comes from the website called Valley Report. Now, the actual Valley Report website has a disclaimer which says, some of these stories may be exaggerated, embellished or outright works of fiction. Use proper judgment when reading anything on the internet. Which of course you don't read at first glance when you see the headline. You just...
No, you read the headline, you find out what the fuck's going on. You don't just go like...
You don't all the way to the bottom. The tiny print at the
Small
bottom
print.
basically says, don't believe anything on the website, almost is what it says. So there is a mugshot attached to this story. So I did a reverse image search, and it turns out that mugshot is actually from an August 2014 news report about a Connecticut woman who was arrested in connection with hypodermic needles found in an elementary school playground. So quite clearly this story is completely false.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Valley Report, if you ever see anything from them shared online, take it with a pinch of salt. I think they're secondary to the Onion at this stage in their believability ranks.
Salt? Do you mean like a whole like?
Oh, a whole ton of salt. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, do they even try to pass themselves as a legitimate news source?
I think what the thing is with a lot of these satirical websites, sometimes the world is so crazy these days. It's hard to tell the fake ones from the satire, and so with the fact that what's written right at the very bottom or out of the way, this little disclaimer, if you were shown this link without knowing who they were, you might think of it as true. I mean, I'm sure people have done the same with The Onion, because what people don't do is look into them, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Ironically, I think the slight problem with this podcast is that the people who listen are the kind of people who would look into it anyway. But
Maybe, yeah.
if we just get one or two along the way, you go, oh yeah, no, I wouldn't normally fall for that, then that's okay. So yes, story number 2, complete nonsense. we will move on to story number 3. I know, Lloyd, you're keen on this one, so why don't you go for this one?
It's hilarious in a really, really upsetting way. So this wag, to start with the picture, this wag's decided he's going to take his gun collection, and now these aren't guns you use for hunting wildlife. These are guns designed to either injure, maim, or kill assailants. And he's decided the best way he could do this is to make what I suppose would be called an homage to Donald Trump.
You would call it
and has arranged his guns to spell out his name. And that's the first thing you see on this. So the headline says, "Did El Paso shooter upload a photo of guns spelling Trump?" This is from heavy.com, which doesn't sound like a legitimate news source. Where has it been seen? It's been seen on Twitters. Twitters? That's terrible. I sound like an old man doing that.
It's been on the Twitters.
It's been on the Twitters. It's on Twitter. Various news outlets have been scrambling to get this info on the shooter, some of which is picked up on the picture. Basically, it's just a number of guns who spell out the word Trump.
Yeah. So obviously this is a pretty horrific thing that's happened this week, is this shooting in El Paso. And anytime things like this happen, news reports really go and try and find out as much about the person or the suspect as they can. Sometimes they dig up lots of interesting things that are really scary, and sometimes they dig up stuff which is complete nonsense. So that's why we wanted to look at this one. So this is what's come up from this, is this photo of these guns laid out as Trump, which some news sites have suggested that the shooter has uploaded himself to one of his social media pages. And I know you did some more reading on this.
I certainly did. You're quite right. Whenever you get these terrible things that happen, because it's sensational, etc., etc., you're quite right. Everyone scrambles around. What more can we find out? What more can we find? And there's all sorts of crazy stuff going around. So on heavy.com, actually, to be fair to them, it was a fairly long, well sort of put together thing, and it talks about the shooter. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to give him any more airing of things.
Deliberately taken it off everything that I've written as well. 5
fast facts you need to know, but they're not fast because there's quite a lot of content.
It's a long old article.
It's huge.
I haven't read the whole thing, to be honest.
I went through it. The thing that got me was it's got the normal stuff. What happened, the reactions of various different people. So you have the old thoughts and prayers thing, which drives me absolutely crazy, and they normally come from politicians who've taken a lot of money from gun lobbyists, etc., etc. So that's all they can say. You've got all the people saying about the fact he was a loner. We always get that as well. All those different things. And I think it goes to the nub of all these things, and when we talk about these crimes, all the things are trotted out. Oh well, guns don't kill people, the people behind it do, etc., etc. Get all that. The thing that got me was the manifesto, which they've tried to kind of talk about in here. They said the manifesto was posted on 8chan before the shooting, that appears to have been written by the shooter. His response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas. Now, I teach history for a living, and I just want
to... the other way around, mate.
just throw this idea out, which is this, that Hispanics have been in Texas before Texas was Texas, because it was part of Spanish America, and Texas was there before it became part of the United States. So that's wrong, basically. But the manifesto is insane. So it starts off, in general, I support the Christchurch shooter and his manifesto. This attack was a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas. Those two things don't match.
No.
The shooting in Christchurch was a guy who attacked Muslim people. This guy has decided to attack Hispanic people. Hispanic people are the people who are from Southern, Central and South America, are people from that region. That's a race of people. People who are Muslim, that's a faith. You can be lots of different races and have that faith. So there you go, those two don't work straight off the bat. And it just goes on. A lot of this is just generally the kind of diatribe you see in most sort of right-wing nationalist kind of tracts. And a lot of these things you can see going back in history. They're based on a very weird, loose logic that doesn't quite make all sense. And it sort of goes on.
So he's clearly not in the right frame of mind, like most people would be. And I know there's a lot of things around this that we could get involved with. We're not going to go too far into it all. I mean, Lloyd's touched on some good points there.
Yeah. The whole story, the whole thing is a whole lot to unpack, isn't it? Let's be honest.
So much. This is why I've tried to focus on this one aspect of it. To try and show you what media do after such a tragic event.
And it's a horrible thing that all they do is just like try and grab as many headlines as possible. And sadly, it does happen a lot in America with these shootings. I mean, the fact of the matter is, less than 24 hours later, there was another one, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
It's just horrific.
The scary thing about this guy is that you read his manifesto, he clearly believed that there was a logical argument to what he was doing. And he's not a psychopath. I think often we look at these stories and go, oh, he must have been mad. He must have been angry about something.
Yeah.
But he has got to that point where he felt he could do no more than to go out and kill these people because he believed his version of America was under threat. And that's, I think, for me, that's the scary bit.
Yeah. Now, like I say, there were a lot of tweets going around earlier as well, suggesting that image was posted by the killer himself, and that the image shows his weapons. And it's also been mentioned that image appeared on social media only moments before the shooting began. Now, a reverse image search proves that to be false straight away, because that image was first uploaded to Imager in 2017, and at present there appears to be no link between the guns in the image and the shooter. What did happen is that some media outlets did pick up on the fact that in the moments after the shooting they were doing a search of what they thought were social media accounts run by the killer, and they thought that there were a lot of associations with conspiracy pages, and one of the accounts had liked a 2017 tweet that featured the image that we're talking about, and it appears that has been misreported slightly, and then multiple people have then believed that he himself uploaded that image to his own profile. Any accounts that Twitter suspected of belonging to him have now been removed by them. There is a link between him and that picture. He liked that picture on there, and the comment was about making America great again and supporting Donald Trump and things like that. Hence the guns laid out in his name. But the picture himself, as far as we can tell, has absolutely nothing to do with this guy. He just saw it on Twitter and liked it 2 years ago. And that's all there is, the link between him and that picture.
My final thought on this is like, if I knew someone who liked that photo, if I saw someone go like, oh yeah, that's really cool, I'm going to like that, just tell them to get fucked.
Yeah, because especially these days, Twitter will show you, it'll come up in your main newsfeed. So-and-so has liked this tweet.
Yeah.
I think people are still not very savvy with social media. And I think kids I teach are incredibly savvy on social media, and they know what they're doing a lot better than I do, and they're actually a lot more clever with it as well. I think the other thing with Twitter, of course, you can create your own echo chamber. Absolutely. I've done that very deliberately with Twitter. I'm like, I don't really want to hear the hate. And occasionally I follow Chucky Omuna, and I go, I'll look in one, and then I'll go down his comments. And after a few minutes, you're like, oh my god, this guy's having to deal with this. And Anna Soubry's a good example of that as well. It probably comes as no surprise to anyone listening that I'm clearly a Remainer. But yeah, just some of the bile that's on there, and I find, do you know what? I don't want anything to do with that. So I deliberately kind of just tried to make it nice and pleasant. Yeah, it is quite easy to do that. The other thing with Twitter, of course, is you can get news out very quickly, and so that's what these types of places do. Is before they can write an article, if they see something, they'll retweet it, or they'll take it and they'll post it very quickly, and that can go viral very quickly. And then later, and it turns out to not be true, they'll tweet and go, oh, sorry, that turned out not to be true. But it's too late. 300,000 people have already liked it and shared it, and that picture is still there. You haven't taken it down yet. This is one of the stories we had the other week, because some far-right guy tweeted something which turned out to be nonsense. He apologised and said, oh, sorry, that last thing I tweeted was actually wrong. Didn't get rid of it, didn't delete it, and it would continue to be shared and commented on for weeks after. So that's the problem with these types of things. Yeah, obviously, an evil thing has happened from an evil person, but you can't necessarily believe everything you see about it on Twitter, because there are this kind of sensationalist reporting and linking things that aren't necessarily linked. So that's why we wanted to touch on this story, is to say just be careful with what's out there and what you believe. So we will move on from that into story number 4, which I will touch on, which is Steve Jobs' last words. Now, this I saw posted from Joseph Rudy Rouleau on Facebook.
most people probably don't know who that was, but he was a 2017 Republican candidate for the governor of New Jersey. And so it was on Facebook. Wasn't really posted anywhere else. But the image is basically a screenshotted load of text. There's not even a picture to it. It's quite, as memes go, it's pretty dull. It's a lot of text. But anyway, what it says is Steve Jobs died a billionaire with a fortune of $7 billion at the age of 56 from pancreatic cancer, and here are some of his last words. In other eyes, my life is the essence of success, but aside from work, I have little joy, and in the end, wealth is just a fact of life to which I am accustomed. At this moment, lying on the bed, sick and remembering all my life, I realise that all my recognition and wealth that I have is meaningless in the face of imminent death. You can hire someone to drive a car for you and make money for you, but you cannot rent someone to carry the disease for you. One can find material things, but there is one thing that can't not be found when it is lost: life. Treat yourself well and cherish others. As we get older, we are smarter, and we slowly realise that the watch is worth $30 or $300, both of which show the same time. Whether we carry a purse worth $30 or $300, the amount of money in the wallets are the same. Whether we drive a car worth $150,000 or a car worth $30,000, the road and distance are the same. We reach the same destination. If we drink a bottle worth $300 or wine worth $10, the stroller will be the same. If the house we live in is 300 square metres or 3,000 square metres, the loneliness is the same. Your true inner happiness does not come from the material things of the world. Wherever you're flying, first class or economy class, if the plane crashes, you crash with it. So I hope you understand that when you have friends or someone to talk to, this is true happiness. No, that doesn't sound like the words of someone on the deathbed.
Also doesn't sound like the words of Steve Jobs.
No.
If you believe the stories, he was apparently a bit of an arsehole.
I think at certain points you have to be in order to be that successful in business, don't you?
Yeah.
I think if you're a kid listening to this, or a student listening to this, and you're at school, just buckle in. You're going to have an assembly with this in it. This is great fodder for the lazy yearhead that's got to do an assembly last minute. This will be used and commented on. Just like it's like famous last words. They're never those things.
No.
These prophetic things, they're always apocryphal, and you're quite right, what you said about him. And if you've got cancer and it's particularly bad, you're just going to be in massive pain.
Yeah.
It's...
Unfortunately, with terminal illnesses, when you are on your deathbed like that, you're not doing much talking. You are literally there just gasping for breath because your body's giving up on you. So
yes. Yeah.
It's a nice thought. Maybe he said that.
I think all last words are a bit like that, aren't they? Because something happens too quickly for you to say anything meaningful, or you are, like you say, something's happened, taken over so long that by the time you get to the end, you're not capable of saying anything. So yeah, that sounds like too much like a cohesive thing. And I thought, well, maybe someone has embellished the last words. Maybe the gist of it was the same, but they've added stuff to it to pad it out, to make a story, make an assembly, like you say. Maybe that was something that happened.
Bits of this is going to be ripped off and plastered on posters and blocks of wood that you can get at the garden centre with and I looked around your house, so before I made this point, the live, life, laugh. An inspirational quote. You see it on Instagram all the time, and part of me dies when I see those kind of things,
It's always really badly put on walls. Like, it's never it always looks
There's
really...
so many versions of it that you can get so cheap.
It never looks like it fits. Does that make sense? It's nice words, but...
Yeah, so I did some searching up. So what happened? Steve Jobs died in 2011. I found that the commentary that's mentioned here began circulating in 2015, has appeared sporadically since, and it's cropped up again in this last couple of weeks. Now, I found that in October 30th, 2011, New York Times published an article written by Jobs' sister, Mona Simpson, called A Sister's Eulogy for Steve Jobs. And in it, she actually wrote about what his last words were. And she says, her quote is, Steve's final words, hours earlier, were monosyllables, repeated 3 times. Before embarking, he looked at his sister Patty, then for a long time at his children, and then at his life partner Lauren. And over their shoulders past them, Steve's final words were, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. There you go. Something simple when you've got no energy and you are sadly about to pass. They are the kind of words you get out.
And the thing, the reason I know this is I had very recently someone pass away because of long-term illness, and the last conversation wasn't really anything more substantial than that. It's a nice thought. I really like the idea of it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. They take something and they plaster it everywhere under someone's name, and that's probably not nice for the family to see that crop up all over the time. But kind of understandable why. He was a big influential figure who obviously you can't get more commercial driven than some of the Apple products. So I know we've all got one with us right now. And we're recording this on one, but yeah, he was obviously had a lot of money, and so the thought of him saying something like that probably makes people think.
I think people want that, don't they? I think in a world where people are looking for sort of that meaning, a sense of purpose, or some way or something to have sort of hang their own feelings on, it can be quite a powerful thing. But yeah, it's just no.
On that note, we'll move on to our next story. Nick, do you want to touch on this one for us?
The headline is "This shit just broke my heart." It's from Facebook by a lady called Courtney Ann. Shared all over. It's got 184,000 times it's been shared, which is crazy. Who's covering this? CBS, Heavy.com again are back covering this as well, so you can probably guess where this is going. Lots of local US news stations are doing it as well. And the gist of it is an image which shows a bullet-resistant backpacks being sold at Office Max, with the added quote, "Saw this at the Office Max today and my heart literally broke into pieces."
Yeah, so it's just a simple image that someone's taken a photo of these backpacks that are bullet-resistant backpacks for kids in the back-to-school section.
I mean,
it's just obviously we've spoken about shootings already once in the show, so we'll keep that part of it light. But the fact that these exist,
I mean,
if they exist,
if this is true, if it does exist, and it's a real thing, I mean, literally that says it all. I mean, if you're American and you take offence to this, I do apologise, but seriously, get your fucking act together. You cannot have kids having a fucking backpack that's bulletproof because you've got guns. You need to go and control your guns, because otherwise this is going to keep happening, and we're going to have these really weird scenarios where children are going to school with bulletproof backpacks. If this toy's true. And it's just ludicrous. It's just absolutely ludicrous that that country is in the position it is where that happens. And yeah, that's my angry thoughts on it, because gun control in America, and in fact a lot of that stuff really pisses me off. Like,
I don't know, I have two thoughts here on this, which is, if it is true, then I suppose there's the whole thing of, well, there's muck, there's brass. You know, someone there's going, there's a school shooting, they're not doing anything about guns, we need to protect students, let's sell bags which are bulletproof. You can see the logic there. The thing that gets me is the memes. It's broken my heart. I'm like, really? I've got to the point now, and I live in Britain, and we see this. I'm just kind of numb to these now. Oh, it's happened.
Yeah, it's sad that it's got to that stage.
I think the thing is with El Paso and then following in Dayton. The thing in Dayton, I think, because it happened so quickly afterwards, everyone's gone, oh, well, yeah, of course it has. Yeah. It's got to that point now. So I just think for me, it's like, yeah, I'm furious that this got to that point, but the fact that someone's upset by this, it also gets me. Like, no.
Well, maybe this is what's made it sat in. I mean, maybe they're so numb to it as well that when they see it on the news, they don't think much of it. But then when they see it when they've gone to buy something for their kids and they realise the reality of it, maybe that's when it's sunk in for them. In regards to the backpack, I just simply Googled bullet-resistant backpack, and there were dozens of results. They're available on Amazon and all sorts of places. Office Max is part of Office Depot, so I looked on the Office Depot website and I found this teal one that's in the photo. I found that one. That's $119.99, and the description says the backpack is built to deliver level 3A protection thanks to its soft tactical armour.
Do we know what that actually means in layman's terms?
I looked up what the different levels were. It goes level 2A, 2, 3A, 3, 4. So level 4 is the top level. So 3A is kind of mid-range protection. It's basically lightweight Kevlar that will protect. It could potentially stop a bullet. It's not going to stop loads. It's better than nothing, effectively, is what they're saying. You can get more expensive bags, sort of towards the $200 mark, that are higher level protection. That they do exist, that story is, quite sadly, true. I'll get you to read this one in a moment, Lloyd, but before I do, just to let you know, this was requested whilst I was on the Isle of Wight yesterday. Kitty's stepdad said, I've got a story that I want you to check. So that's why we're looking at this one, so go ahead and read it.
Okay, cool. So It says, this is the headline: Gizmo, the Chihuahua, seized and taken away by a seagull. And this is from BBC Local News down in Devon. Who else is covering this? The Mirror, Metro, Sun, Daily Mirror, all covering versions of the story on their own seagull attack story, I imagine, with various different headlines that go through this. The gist is this. It's basically a seagull came down, went to took a family's pet away. Becca Louise Hill said the gull swooped down, grabbed Gizmo by the scruff of his neck in Paynton, Devon. Her partner tried to grab the dog's legs to stop him being taken away.
John was like, I don't see how a seagull could take a dog. I surely that's fake. I want to know. So what are your initial thoughts?
I have many thoughts on this. So so seagulls can be big. I mean, I've been to Brighton a few times, and when they go for your chips, they're getting your chips.
Yes. Yes. Generally, if you go to Brighton, do not eat outside.
Yeah.
That I think is the rule.
Yeah. They're massive.
Yeah.
And then you think about, how big can a bird actually get? And you go like, well, you go as big as the harpy eagle, which is a huge bird. I think it creates like a 6-foot wingspan or something like that. And I can pick up a sloth. Now, I think about Chihuahua. And sorry to any people that like Chihuahuas or foul Chihuahuas or anything like that, but I call them yappy little fucks because I hate them. They're small, tiny little things.
They are quite small.
That make the worst noise, in my opinion. But still, animals, so you should love them. Seagull, Chihuahua, I can see it happening. I made motions in my hand now. We'll get them on the podcast.
Don't worry. I think we get the gist.
They can be quite big, and Chihuahuas are quite small, so
They are.
I can see it happening. Anything that I can't see happening is I don't think they've got really clawy feet, which is what helps the harpy eagle because it's got proper claws.
Big talons.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I must admit, the feet is not the thing I look at when I see seagulls.
They've got webbed feet, haven't they?
Yeah.
But they've still got claws on them. They're still quite malleable, I think. They're not like duck's feet with like a flap. I definitely believe this is possible. I mean, the thing is that seagulls are now kind of supercharged, aren't they? They follow humans around. They scavenge human food.
They rob shops.
Well, yeah, and as a result,
Yes.
they've gotten bigger because they're eating human food, lots of protein. Remember all those your KFC you drop, the burgers you drop, all that protein, all the carbs and the chips, and the other thing as well, they got more and more. They're confident, aren't they? There's plenty of them, and they'll go through. So I see this is completely possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just some background on it. Gizmo was a 4-year-old dog, as described as small brown dog weighing 4.4 pounds, so 2 kilos.
2 bags of sugar.
Yeah, 2 bags of sugar, so not a huge amount of weight. The BBC News story has actually got some pretty decent information on it. It says that ornithologist Peter Rock told the Today programme on Radio 4 that seagulls were capable of picking up small animals, and also Tony Whitehead from the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds said it was possible if a recently fledged herring gull came into conflict with the dog and that the parents then defended. Alternatively, it was simply a predation. He said it was a rare thing to happen to a dog, but advised owners of small dogs to keep an eye on their pets. So that's what was in the BBC report. They've actually spoken to 2 people who kind of verified that it's unusual, but it can happen.
It sounds like there's a lot of weight behind this, a lot of truth behind this.
Yeah.
Maybe that seagulls are just as annoyed by chihuahuas as you are.
Then I'll be on their side.
Well, as Lloyd mentioned, the other websites have picked up on this, so I looked at the Metro version, because that mentions a different attack. That says a mum has revealed how a vicious flock of seagulls attacked her 2-year-old daughter less than 2 weeks after they killed her dog. Emily Vincent from Cornwall said her family were traumatised after beloved Yorkshire Terrier Roo was fatally savaged by a gull in the back garden. Pet suffered a head wound and brain damage after the attack, believed to have been triggered by the birds protecting a nest. Days after the fatal attack, Emily's 2-year-old daughter Jessie was also targeted by the same deadly gull gang while playing in the garden. She was left with facial injuries, but the mum of 4 said she believed Jessie's wounds would have been more serious or even fatal had she not been there to fight the gull off. Emily, 40, said she was speaking out about her ordeal in support of the family of Gizmo, a chihuahua believed to have been kidnapped and killed by a gull in Paynton. She said, 2 weeks after they killed my dog, they went for my 2-year-old daughter. Thank God I was there and managed to hit it, but it still hit her in the side of the head, causing bruising to her face. So that's their version of the story. So
there's a lot to unpack there. Right? Number one, is she saying that these seagulls have purposely targeted this family? Because that's what it is. It feels like from them. Because he said about the gang of seagulls. Sounds like are they sitting there like hoodies on? Like
I'm guessing.
I'm thinking West Side Story.
I'm guessing it's the fact that they mentioned in the story that they think they went for the dog because they were defending the nest.
That I can
Clearly
logically
the nest
understand.
was nearby, and so if they thought maybe that the kid would be going for the nest as well, maybe that's why. Maybe the nest was in the tree at the bottom of the garden. The story doesn't give us that information, but that was my take on it. That's what I thought.
I think that gives you quite a lot of credence to that. It gives you a lot of weight, saying like, they're definitely there, sort of going, you're near my territory. Do you want to piss off? And a dog, being a dog, it's just going to be curious. It might get too close, and the same with a 2-year-old child. If you're out, if it's out in the garden and that nest is in the garden,
The 2-year-old children didn't necessarily have the fear that they should have for those animals. Speaking as the father of an 18-month-old who will quite happily run off the edge of a cliff because he doesn't realise he's going to fall down it. This is maybe starting to lean more to the story of it happens, but maybe only when they're defending themselves.
It's one of those stories that comes out of like that area of the world, and it's just like, this is crazy stuff going on down here. Like, it's just a random news story that they've picked up because they're like, that doesn't happen that often.
Then I found another story on. I didn't think I'd ever see this story be covered on this website, but businessinsider.com.
Was it a slow news day in the business world?
Maybe, but they run a story about seagulls in general because of this, and they say that at least 3 dogs have been reportedly killed by gulls in the UK in recent years. The birds, who have 5.5-foot wingspans, have also eaten pigeons, ducks and lambs. And then further on it says it's hard to ignore these birds. They can weigh up to 2.3 kilograms, and the wingspan of the great black-backed gull can reach 5 feet 7 inches, and they can live up to 15 years old. And then they've included a video, which I'm going to have to show you. The comment says, "I'm not sure Gizmo will ever be found. Vicious things, seagulls."
Oh, Jesus!
And it is a video of a seagull eating a rabbit whole.
He's just woofed that down, hasn't he?
Yeah. And he looks quite happy about it. I mean, it's a relatively small rabbit, but...
It's still a rabbit!
It's still a rabbit.
It's gone down in one?
It's gone in one. Well, the same one. In one piece. He has chugged that down quite well, I feel. But yeah, if we can do that to a rabbit...
found respect for the gull.
yeah, it's strange, isn't it? It's like, well played, mate.
Your turn of the phrase "chug" there makes you think now there's a whole group of seagulls out of shot going,
down
it. Go on, Steve, you can do it, Steve, go on.
So, based on all that information, I believe the story is true.
I read a bit more about this, and they were on the BBC link you gave us. There was no one saying, "Can you kill seagulls?"
Yeah.
And it goes on to say, basically, no, you cannot kill a wild animal. It's illegal. But can you guess the one animal that you can kill?
Ooh. What sort of are we?
In the wild.
In
Britain.
Like rodent?
In the wild in Britain.
We're talking rodents?
It's a kind of rodent.
Hamster.
Not the hamster, no, that's a pet. So, wild.
Oh, wild. Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the British countryside, in the UK, by law, you can kill these.
I don't know then.
Weasels.
What is it?
It's the grey squirrel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
of course.
the great squirrel, of course, isn't actually native to the UK. The Victorians, amongst many various different crimes that they've perpetuated on humanity, the importing of grey squirrels. You went to the Isle of Wight.
Yes, yeah.
One place where they're not, because they didn't swim across.
We did notice a nice road sign. You know, the old triangle with the exclamation mark in it, and it came out like a warning sign, and then just said underneath, squirrels.
Yeah,
what about them? They're going to try and mug me, take my hubcaps? What?
It's the one place where the reds are okay.
Yeah.
You in fact, actually, you can't, according to the article, once you've trapped a grey squirrel, it's actually illegal to let it go.
Oh, okay.
So you've got to kill it. So if you trap this thing, you've got to do it in a way.
There you go. Some interesting facts, courtesy of Lloyd. Thank you for that. Right. So that basically is our news for the day. So thank you for that. Anyone listening, if you've seen something online or heard something that you want to know if it's true, let us know. We'll take a look at it, some of your suggested stories, and discuss them on the next episode. You can contact us on Twitter and Instagram, where we are at MOSwooping. You can email us at moswooping@gmail.com. You can leave us a voicemail on Anchor, where we are MOSwooping, funnily enough. We've also got a Facebook page where you can get updates from us, and we'll tell you about when new episodes are released, as well as a Facebook group where you can join the community and share fake stories that you found as well. You can work out what those are called, I'm sure. Ministry of Swooping, for those who can't. So now we'll move on to sports. Well, what we call sports on this show, the fact penalty shootout. Taking it in turns, Nick and Lloyd are going to hear a series of 5 facts, and we'll have to judge whether they think they are true or false. Whoever gets the most wins, and in the result of the draw, we will head to sudden death, and we did have to do that last week.
I heard.
So, we will start with Nick. The University of Minnesota is older than the state of Minnesota itself.
True.
It is true. The university was founded in 1851 and the state became an estate in 1858. Lloyd, iguanas have 2 eyes.
Right, okay.
I feel like this is a really
I feel like... I've been bold and googly here. Mixing my sports metaphors there.
Can we not talk about cricket today, please?
Oh, God, no, it's terrible, isn't it? It's so outlandish that I'm going to say false.
It is false. Congratulations.
There we go.
Yes. Pulled it back to 1-1. They've got 2 normal eyes and a third eye on top of their head that only perceives brightness.
So brightness is in light?
Yeah.
Okay,
Not intellect.
not intellect.
Although we
that
could
would be
do with one of
amazing
those.
to have, yeah.
Yeah, we
Mine
could do
would be
with one
pretty
of those.
dull, to be honest.
Right, so it's 1-1. Back to you, Nick. The I'm feeling lucky feature in Google search actually costs Google $110 million a year.
Ooh. See, again, that sounds quite believable. Yeah, let's go for it. I'll say true.
It is true. That's because 1% of all searches use that feature and therefore bypass all advertising. So you take the lead 2-1. Back to you, Lloyd. The man who found the 5,000-year-old corpse Otzi the Iceman in 1991, which was the oldest natural European mummy, was also found dead, frozen in ice in 2004.
I reckon that's true. I think I even saw that story.
Yeah,
That
I
is
think
true.
I did as well, yeah.
That is true. 2-0. Nick, Samuel L. Jackson hates golf.
I think this is false. Mainly because I'm sure I've seen pictures of him playing golf, but I could be now making this up and
Okay.
getting confused. I've got to go false. Yeah.
False. It is false, yeah. He loves golf. He actually has a clause in most of his film contracts that allow him to play during film shoots whenever he wants.
That's brilliant. Did he play? I wanted to know if he played in his Avengers outfit with the iPad.
With the iPad, yeah. I would hope not. Back to you, Lloyd. Christmas carp that live in a family bathtub for a few days before they're eaten is a tradition in Madagascar.
Oh, no. I think this is false because I think it's true. It's somewhere else.
So you're going to say
I
false?
think in Poland they do that. I know they eat carp at Christmas in Poland. So I'm going to go false.
It is false. It's a Slovakian tradition.
Slovakia, okay.
Wow.
Well worked out, well reasoned.
I would not have done that one.
We head back to Nick. In 2014, a missing woman on vacation in Iceland was found when it was discovered she was in the search party looking for herself.
I think I've heard about this, and it's a question of not if it is a fake story. I think I've seen this. I think it's true. And I really hope it's true because that's fucking hilarious.
It is indeed true. It's indeed true.
How? Like,
I think she was out for a walk, but she'd been out so long, someone had reported her missing. People started going out looking for her. She came across a search party, and they said, "Oh, someone's gone missing." So she just joined in,
so surely, like,
and it took them a while to realise they were looking for her. Okay, we're going back to Lloyd then. So far, everyone right.
I feel there's a lot of pressure on there.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. The South African jerky-like snack biltong is Afrikaans for bull's tongue, which the traditional cut of meat is used to make it.
I should know this because I've got a few Safa mates and it's fantastically nice stuff. So it's Afrikaans.
Yeah, for bull's tongue.
Biltong. I'm going to go false.
It is false. Well reasoned. The name actually originated from Dutch. Bill indicates the part of the animal which was used, which is the butt cheek, and tongue indicates the shape, strip. So we're at 4-4. Going into the fifth one. Back to you, Nick. The coloured squares at the bottom of the toothpaste tubes identify the composition of the toothpaste.
Ooh. I've never heard of that before. I can go for a guess. I'll say it's true.
Okay. Unfortunately, you're wrong. It's false.
No.
It's apparently a common misconception. I think it was something that was shared ages ago that said that it was that. So
Yeah.
a lot of people believe that it is that, but it's not. It's nothing.
I've never
to do
seen
with
anything like that, so I just took a wild stab in the dark.
Okay, so this for the win then, Lloyd. Alligators will give manatees the right of way if they're swimming near each other.
Right, they're both native to the Americas, aren't they? So It's not one of those you've gone, oh, this animal's... Because you think, oh, crocodiles, alligators. They're like, oh, you idiot, crocodiles, this one's... So right of way. They're a big unit, aren't they, manatees? I'm going to go true.
And it is true.
Ah!
Lloyd wins it there 5-4 at the end. That's a good game there, guys. Good guessing. Good working out, I think, there. That was cracking.
I do like the idea of I come around the corner and I was like, oh, they didn't do it after you, sir.
So that's that. Congratulations, Lloyd, on the win.
Thank you.
The third winner in our third episode. So we have a different winner each week so far.
Well, I'm just going to have to come back next week and win, aren't I?
We'll have another fact shootout fun next time. So the show's coming to a close. Before we go, though, a bit of begging from me. If you've listened this far through the show, then thank you very much. We feel very honoured. Please do hit that subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss any future episodes. And if you do have a minute, please do give us a rating and a review on whatever podcast system you're listening to us on. For those listening on Anchor, we're also available on Spotify, on iTunes, on TuneIn. Basically, anywhere you can get a podcast, we are there. So any kind of rating and review would be great. Also, don't forget to follow us on all the social medias and send us any news stories that you want looking into. Contact details coming up at the end of the show. Any final thoughts for anyone? Anyone want shout outs or mentions or plugs or anything you've got to give, guys?
Obviously, it's just thanks for having us on it. Nice to be on my first ever podcast, basically. Don't know about you. If I was to plug anything, I'd say just listen to loads of podcasts because they're great. If you like true crime, listen to the last podcast on the left. They are fantastic. They dehumanise and make these horrible people feel like absolute shit. So you look at them and you go like, oh, excellent, and they do it in a very comedic way. Listen to things like, if you like football, Scoutcast. Those guys are brilliant if you want to win a football league. I listened to them last year and I won't say it too loud because my brother will go have a right go at me, but because of them I won my fantasy football league, which meant I got a curry and a beer. So thanks to Scoutcast, and just generally listen to podcasts. They're great.
Thank you. That's good advice.
Can I recommend a couple of podcasts as well?
Of course you can, yeah.
One is How Did This Get Made, which is the Porsche.
Oh, it's so good.
Jason Mantzoukas one. They've just done Drop Dead Fred, and they sometimes disagree, but this particular way, I've never known an episode where two of the four that are on there were vehemently defending the film and the other two vehemently attacking the film. And it was, at one point, you just think, they're going to fall out. This may well be the last one. The other one, I'm going to have a shout out to because my friend Ben is on it. It's a rugby podcast called All Over Podcast, and they're just basically three lads from Cornwall, one guy from Northampton that talk about rugby like you would in a pub, and it's a really good listen, actually.
Nice.
So we end our show then with our good friend Rando Cardrissian, who will be picking our episode subtitle. Now, this is one of the special rules from Cards Against Humanity, where a random card is drawn to play against the real players, often with hilarious results. So we're going to draw two random cards from the standard UK version of Cards Against Humanity, and that becomes our subtitle for this week's episode. We've mentioned before, we do this because our name for the podcast, Ministry of Sweeping, came from a game of Cards Against Humanity, and also, why the hell not? So, today I've just literally, whilst you were talking then, I've pulled two out. So this week's subtitle is, Why Am I Sticky? Surprise Sex. So, there we go. And on that unsavoury note, we will say thanks for listening, guys, and goodbye. Goodbye.
See you later, good.
Goodbye.
If you want to contact the Ministry of Swooping, you can email moswooping@gmail.com. You can send a voicemail at anchor.fm/moswooping. You can also join our Facebook group and be a part of the community. Just search for Ministry of Swooping. Don't forget, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram, where we are at moswooping.